You know, it is always an honor to have this young lady. She needs no introduction. Matter of fact, you see her everywhere. She's like the media mogul in South Carolina. We're talking Cynthia. How are you, Cynthia Pryor? Do you still go with
I
Cynthia
am
Party
doing
Pryor or
great.
Cynthia Party Hire? How do you have like 20 names?
Yeah, Curtis, do you remember when I was Cynthia Pryor when I first came to the market? I'm Cynthia Pryor Hardy now for the last 29 years. So, yeah, hey, Curtis. And, I'm honored to be interviewed by you. You talk about me. You're the real guy. You're the original media mogul of this state.
After all this time, I finally get to interview you. You know what I mean?
I think that's great. I interview people all the time. I don't get to be interviewed very often.
All right, so I'm gonna bring the tough questions.
Okay, I'm ready.
You always ready. So listen, you have a long career right
I
here in
do.
South Carolina doing
I
so
do.
much. I mean, and especially majority of it deals with the community. Now, tell me about that love for the community that you have.
I grew up in Birmingham, Alabama, and I grew
Mhm.
up at a time when community was very, very important. It was after the civil rights movement when a number of African American people were coming into their own. And it was such a wonderful time because it just seemed as if the community wrapped its arms around each other, the people of the community. And so my mother was a real big giver in terms of the community, a real big philanthropist in her own way. If
Mhm.
someone was hungry, she'd feed them. And if somebody need clothing, she'd look at what we had and she'd make sacrifices and she'd provide. And so I've just always felt as if I want to see things change, then I have to be the change. And so that's one of the reasons that when I came to South Carolina, I originally came in a communications position with the Urban League, the Columbia Urban League,
Mhm.
and that is the community organization.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and it wasn't lost on me that that organization was touching on so many touch points throughout our community, whether it was youth development or economic development, and so I had a really, really wonderful run with the Columbia Urban League under the leadership of JT McLawhorn. And so that kind of solidified it for me. Once you have the opportunity, as I did, to put
Mhm.
so many kids to work during the period that we were there and to run so many youth programs, then just the acknowledgement from the parents and other loved ones of all of the young people that were involved in the Stop the Violence Teen Leadership Program or the Summer Work Experience Leadership Program or the College Internship Program. So those rewards were, it gets kind of addictive, Curtis. Once you feel the return,
Mhm.
it just makes you want to do it all over again.
Yeah.
Especially when you can see the benefit of it. And today, I'm looking at all these young people. Well, to me, they're young people, but they're in their 40s now. But, you look at all these young people that came through and you see them just flourishing in all these wonderful areas that they work in. It's a sense of pride.
It is, absolutely. When you do work like that, and like I say, you go through the time period that you spend here in South Carolina working with these youth, and then you see them as adults with their own kids, and they talk about what you did
Oh,
for them.
yeah.
You helped pave the way for them and so forth, which is a wonderful, wonderful feeling. So I
It
got to
is.
say, too, with what you do, with what you did with the Urban League, you cut your teeth really big during that time. And I think also too, it broadened your horizons to maybe was that the key to get into media, to do television and also get into radio as well?
Well, for me, it was a return. I spent the first years of my career working for um, WENN in Birmingham, Alabama.
And
And CNN was one of the first African American media sources in the country, owned by one of the country's first Black millionaires, A.G. Gaston. And so I was doing morning drive news at age 22. And after I'd been there for about 9 months, the news director at the ABC affiliate, WBRC TV6, gave me a call and they gave me a try. And so for the next 7 years, I worked in television news there. When I decided to get out of TV news and get into public relations, it was a really big decision for me, but
mhm.
I could do good in terms of the community. I remember going to stories, Curtis, and if it was Jesse Jackson running for president in '88.
Mhm.
So sometimes we would go to sources for a news conference where Jesse was going to be speaking, And there were things that were lacking. You know, maybe the news release wasn't tight enough. Maybe they hadn't done a good enough job reaching out to the media to make sure that they came. So what I did, I looked at that and I said, golly, I could take these media skills that I have off air and maybe more good than being on air. And so that was really what led me in pursuit of a position like the Urban League here in South Carolina. So I relocated here. And after I'd been there for a while, Curtis, and the flag wouldn't come down, I said in 2004, my husband and I decided it would be great if we could start our own media entity, control the editorial content so that we could get real information in real time out to people and make it an intelligent brand of talk for African-American people. And there wasn't anything in that space at that particular time. Brenda Jones had passed, and you guys were willing to give me a shot, which nothing could have been better, because 100,000 watts that the station has, that means once the show caught on radio, it just took off because it had a statewide audience. And so the timing for all of that was good. And then shortly thereafter, television followed. And so it's been a nice run. I don't know how I'm going to give it up. It's been a nice run.
It's that bug when you get it. Question.
That's right.
So doing what you do, you know, you're well respected, well renowned, and you have a lot of young ladies, of course, who look up to you and they're inspired to be you or even get into other fields, but they want that encouragement. They need that advice. What would you tell them?
Well, you got to put in the work. You know, you have to be prepared for the opportunities when they present themselves. For instance, back during the time when we were pitching to Steve Patterson and Mike Love at the time, who was the PD at the Big DM, I had to be able to prove that I could hold the audience. And if you guys at the station were going to stop the music, then that means I couldn't lose any of your listeners. I had to keep those listeners throughout that hour of nothing but talk. So I had to be prepared for that moment, which means you got to research your topics. You got to make them extremely interesting to people. And at the end of the day, they have to make a difference in somebody's life. And so, but you have to put in the work. And so you have to be prepared when the opportunities present themselves. But in addition to that, you just got to be good people. You know, you really do have to care about you have to care about people, and people have to feel as if you care about them. When people feel as if you care about them, it's invaluable. It goes such a long way. And so it's not enough to be frequently recognized. You have to be frequently recognized for something of substance. And so I'd say to the girls that make sure that you're putting in the work so that when people do recognize you, they recognize you beyond the surface. They recognize your heart, and they recognize what you want to do to improve the lives of them, but also the overall community. And I think that really has been a big key to our longevity, because Curtis, we started in 2004, and you know, in this business, it's really easy after 10 years for that to have been a really good run. Yes. And then and so we've been able to last and to really, it's been surprising to me how relevant we've been able to be, you know, throughout the last 16 years.
No, not to me, because like you say, whenever you turn that microphone on and you're speaking about something that appeals to the masses who are listening, and you're staying relevant and you're being top of mind about things that are going on, people want to hear. And it makes them want to tune in every single time you're on, because they don't want to miss what you're going to say, especially when you're encouraging, you're inspiring, you're innovative, the whole 9 yards. You put it together like that, which makes you that person. They seek for that information. And when they get it from you, they know it's going to be correct. They know it's going to be factual. They know it's going to be something that's going to help them. And that's why you're so appreciated. No question about that.
Well, Curtis, I appreciate you saying that, because so much of what you're just saying to describe me is exactly what I think about. You know,
cut from the same cloth.
Well, I think so. People appreciate it when they know that you care enough to make sure that the information that they're getting isn't full of a lot of junk, you know, good, solid information that they can use. And I think people, you know, have a level of appreciation about that. And you know, something else, Curtis, is interesting, because one of the things we set out to demonstrate to people is honestly how smart our people are, because so we get sold cheaply, if you understand what I mean, in terms of what we know, how we can demonstrate what we know, the discoveries that we make, difference that we truly make professionally on a consistent basis. So to have the opportunity to showcase that every week is really, it's really something that the On Point team really gets into. And we made a point at On Point to make sure that we were able to, even in our own team, to showcase diversity and also just the brilliance. Each person on the team has an education background. Nita Brown, who is our audio engineer and our technical engineer, of course, went to school at South Carolina State University, graduated with a degree in communications. Celeste Cannon graduated at Howard with a degree in communications. Same thing was with Dexter Stroman, graduated from Mars College with a degree in communications. Marty Robinson, USC. Same thing with Macy Smith, and of course me at Columbia College with an English degree. And so, so that everybody understands, when we take it to it in terms of news content, everybody understands what it is we're supposed to be doing, and it just makes the product that much stronger because we have all that brain power behind it, and everybody really understanding communications to the point where you kind of know when you hit that sweet spot, when something is going to really, really resonate with audiences. And so we strive to do that each and every week. And we hope we hit the mark more than we don't hit the mark.
Well, you do. And I could talk to you all day. And you know that because there's so much that we can figure out, that what's going on with you and what's coming up and how you come up with topics and just all of that. But again, this is media, so we got to cut things a little short.
That's right.
But thank you so much for taking time for Women's History Month to share your story with us and others, of course, who would be aspiring to be that Cynthia Hardy. You know what I mean? It's so cool.
I do. And I think it's wonderful that you're doing these recognitions of women. Thank you, Curtis, for doing that. There's so many relevant women in our community. I'm honored that you selected us, for this chat today, and call us anytime.
We will. On Point, make sure you catch her right here on the Big DM. And of course, over at that other station that competes against us. Watch Fox. You're doing your thing. Thank you so much, Cynthia. We appreciate you.
Thank you, Curtis.